Welcome back to another video, guys. Today I'm going to do something different than what I normally do with my race videos. I'm going to go through and rank all of the road courses that are on iRacing. Now, unfortunately, this list doesn't quite cover everything. For instance, it doesn't have Portimao and some of the newer tracks, but it's got pretty much everything. So, as I'm sure you've seen these lists, we're going to go from S all the way to D, and then I've got a whole category down here of tracks I've either never raced, don't own, or don't really feel like I have enough context to provide much of an opinion. So there will unfortunately be quite a few of those, but let's go through and just have some fun with this. I'm super curious to see as well. I can't wait to see what I got wrong per the YouTube comments. So I'm actually really curious to see. I'll leave a link in the description of this video so that you have an opportunity to go through and maybe show me your list, because I would love to see what other people have to say about their list. And then, of course, in the context of what I said. So the context I'm coming from is obviously my background, my experience with these tracks and in the cars that I've driven them in. So predominantly that's going to be the Skippy, F4, some F3, and most recently this year, GT3. So keep that in mind as we go through these. I'm going to have a very different opinion of Le Mans and say a prototype versus the Skippy, for instance. And prototype, probably S tier. And Skippy, probably pretty terrible. So just kind of keep that in mind as we go through the list. So Le Mans, basically everything I've driven here I've hated except the GT3 cars. And really that last section just catches me out every time. But kind of leaving some history in, thinking about that track. I think for me that probably lives in B, to be honest. I'm sure a lot of people have that in S, certainly at least A. For me, just I don't know, it's just not a track that I love to drive. The last section of the track is pretty much the most interesting piece of it, for sure. And yeah, it's just not one that I've loved. Aragon's one I actually do really enjoy. Most of my experience here has been F3, a little bit of GT3, but mostly F3. And in the Formula cars, especially the higher downforce, faster cars, like say an F3 car, versus like a Skippy or even an F4, it's actually pretty good. It's got some pretty difficult off tracks, of course. Some weird slowdowns. So there's little things about it that are a little unfortunate in iRacing, but it's a really cool track. I think it's cool. It's got great flow to it, promotes some pretty good racing. I don't know. Let's see. I guess I would probably stick that also in B for now. I think what I'll do as well is once we get to the end of this list, we'll kind of go through the list and through all the tracks one time. And then once we get to the end, I'll probably go through and kind of massage, the order of them within each tier, and then maybe even bounce them around a little bit as I kind of get a feel for what everything looks like. Interlagos, this is one of my favorite tracks. Lots of time in Formula cars here, even Skippy, it's really good. It's a little big for the Skippy, but it's got such a great flow to it. Love the history of this track, love the passion of this track. Definitely a little bit of Formula One mindset in that as well. For me, I'd say it probably lives in A. It'll probably live pretty high in A, maybe even like low S. But for now, let's stick it in A and see where we go. Barber, this is actually one that I probably do own. I don't know that I've ever raced on that track. Belle Isle is one of those tracks where most of my experience, again, is probably actually in Skippy here. Skippy, it's pretty awesome. GT3, I even think it's quite cool. Some of the cars that I've raced in that have basically little to no suspension, or I guess forgiveness, thinking of like the F3, the F4, it's a tough drive, especially F3. Great track. Trying to think, for me it probably lives somewhere in, we'll stick it in B for now. Brands is another one, kind of the same as Belle Isle. Most of my experience there has been in the lower Formula stuff. It's a phenomenal track. Even the little Indy circuit where it cuts off like the back half of the track, it's great. I mean, even in something as simple as a Skippy, it's a good circuit. Actually, it's coming up really soon, I think next week in GT3, so I might have a slightly different opinion of it after next week, but as of right now, I think I'd stick it in B as well. Most Sport. All right, so Most Sport, I got so much flack about this. I had never done Most Sport until a league race. I guess it was last season. So the only time I've ever driven this track was GT3. I think it was in the Porsche. Phenomenal track, great flow. I know they do IMSA there, which is actually coming up in the next week or so, the real world IMSA. I've only run it once, so it's hard to have too much of an opinion, I think, on that circuit. But what I did, I really enjoyed. So I think we'll stick it in B for now. Chicago, they're actually racing there right now in NASCAR. I've only run this circuit in Skippy. It's actually a pretty good Skippy track, maybe slightly big for a skip, but pretty awesome. I think this would even be a good circuit in the GT3s, to tell you the truth. A little too many 90 degrees, but I guess that's kind of part of being a street circuit. I think for now, I'll stick that. I want to say like high C, low B, but we'll roll with high C for now. Spa. This, I think everybody has some sense of attachment to Spa. I don't honestly even know what it is, so it's just a historical reference in Formula One, but I've raced in Spa and literally everything that I've ever raced in iRacing, as I think probably all of us have. For me, it's definitely one of my favorites. It used to be my favorite, like the best. That's changed in the last 12 months, but still very high. So definitely gonna live it in A. I like it a little bit more in Interlagos, so we'll go top of A for now. Montreal's a great circuit. Most of my time they're formula based. Such a good track, and like say Formula 3 specifically. It's tough. I do definitely enjoy it more than Le Mans, but I don't know that it's A tier. I'll stick at the end of A for now. A newer track. Never raced here. I'm pretty sure I own it, but I've never raced here. I don't even think I've taken laps here yet, so it's just one of those tracks. I've run it quite a bit. I don't know that I've ever done it in anything other than a Formula car, and it is pretty cool in Formula 3 and Formula 4, even in Skippy. I forget what the layout's called, but there's a short layout that you can run here at COTA. It's pretty good. I really do enjoy it. I enjoy the shorter layout, I think, than I do the full layout. I think it's got to be C tier. I don't think it's D tier. I do definitely enjoy it more than Chicago. Fuji's a really interesting one. As of maybe a few weeks ago, I had never really run Fuji, so this one's actually interesting. I've only ever done it in GT3, and if there were two different layout options here, we would have two completely different thought processes around this track. I actually think Fuji's a very good track. It's sneaky technical. It's really good in a GT3 vehicle. If it uses the chicane layout, get it out of here. I hated it. It was such a strange chicane in the middle of the track for seemingly no purpose whatsoever. The rest of the track is cool. The last three corners or so, 3 or 4 corners, whatever that happens to be, those are super challenging. Let's go with challenging. They could be frustrating. Let's roll with challenging. So it's tough. A lot of the track I like. I do like that it's technical. Those last 3 corners make it a little difficult to love, and frankly that chicane makes me want to hate it. So let it live here at the start of C. The Nürburgring. So this is specifically the GP circuit, which is certainly going to have a different ranking in my mind than, say, the Nordschleife. Hockenheimring. This one, again, those 3 cars, I've spent a decent amount of time on this track, and all 3 of those cars, I like this track quite a bit. It can be a little boring, you know, the stadium, I don't know if I really call it the stadium section, but the last couple corners, you know, kind of interesting. A lot of straights. Turn 1 is kind of a nightmare. I mean, if you're good at it, I guess it's great, but if you're not, maybe not so much. I guess I'd have to say Hockenheim's probably, for me, gonna live C tier. Homestead. So this one's tough. I do have experience of this track, but it's old for me. Like I think the only time I've run it is Skippy, and I don't know that I've been in a Skippy in 2 years at least. So it's difficult for me to say. I think it'd be unfair for me to give it too much of judgment. So I think I'll just leave it here. Hungaroring. I think all of my experience there is Skippy or Formula 4 for context. Trying to think about it in the context of GT3, it could be probably pretty cool, but not a bad circuit. Definitely not one that, you know, I see on the calendar and just get, you know, super fired up or anything. I think for me, Hungaroring probably also lives in C. Imola, I really do enjoy. This is it's a very technical track, old school track. Quite a fan of this one. It's not S tier. I do think it probably lives in A tier. Let's see, Charlotte, the Roval. I think I've only ever done this thing in the Skippy, maybe actually in like a cup car or NASCAR of some kind, but it'd probably be D. I didn't enjoy this nearly as much as like Fuji or Hockenheim, Hungaroring. I mean, it would probably be D tier for me. Yeah, let's let it live in D. Sorry for you, Charlotte. I feel like Lime Rock always shows up as one of those tracks in week 13, you know, when they're releasing new cars or whatever. And it's always kind of cool to see it show up there. I feel like that's the only time I ever actually get on Lime Rock Park, which is kind of unfortunate now that I think about it. Tough to put that up against, say, a Brand or a Mosport or even the GP circuit of the Nürburgring. So I think we'll let it live in C for now. Okayama, I think I'm probably in the minority on this one. I actually really enjoy Okayama, and I've done it in basically every car that I've ever ridden or driven, I guess, in iRacing. It's probably not A tier category. It's probably really high in B in my eyes. So for now, we'll leave it up here. Oran Park, I think I've only ever driven this in Skip, and it's been a long time. Oulton Park, also kind of sneaky good. I enjoy this track quite a bit. Reminds me of kind of like an Okayama Brands Hatch. It's awesome, and something as simple as a Skippy all the way up to GT3. I think I'd put it in B tier. Phoenix, this is actually really similar to Homestead for me. I know I've done it. It's been a really long time. I can't judge that one. Summit Point, most experience there in the lower end stuff. So like slower vehicles, so Skippy based, some F4, really good circuit. I feel like it lives more in C in my eyes, but it's difficult to put it in the context of some of these circuits for me, to be honest with you. But I think for now we'll put it at the back of C. Tsukuba, man, I don't even know if I say that correctly, to be honest with you, but that's what I've said ever since I saw it, whenever I first saw it in iRacing all those years ago. This is a tough one. I think a lot of people really don't like this track. It reminds me of like a mini Zandvoort. This one's special for me because I had like this one magical week in Skippy like 5 years ago. I bet I gained somewhere in the neighborhood of like a 700 or 800 IR, literally just racing scuba and in the Skippy way back when. So it has like a special place for me, to be honest with you. I was always good there. On its merits, I mean, it's a difficult track to rate too highly, honestly. It's kind of like, it's like Zandvoort, but not as cool. My eye leans to D, but I feel it's really unfair because I think it's better than that. But for now, let's stick at the top of D. Good old Laguna Seca. So I think this one's probably somewhat polarizing. I think a lot of people really like this track. I've never been one of those people. I've run it in pretty much everything, as I think most of us have at this point. It's pretty tight. It's pretty difficult in that respect, but it's also pretty unique. I love the elevation. Love the changes in that. Some of the, the cambered corners at the end of the circuit are pretty cool. I think I talked myself into it, liking it a little bit more than maybe I started. So I think this might end up somewhere in the neighborhood of a mid-tier C. Good old Indianapolis. If this was the four-corner version, I'd like it a lot more. I'm not a huge fan of this track. I just don't like it. I don't know what it is. I was about to say I don't feel like they should have road courses in the middle of giant ovals, but if Daytona's on here, you're going to see a different opinion. So I guess that doesn't make any sense. This guy's going to live pretty low in D. Knock Hill's pretty cool. Most of the experience I've had there is Skip. I've done some GT3 in that, but it's honestly, I guess it's been quite a while. Pretty cool little track. Criminal that you don't see this ever really show up anymore. I bet it's amazing in cars like TCRs, GT4, any of the slower, you know, slower cars like that, I think it's probably pretty awesome. For me, for the cars that I drive, I mean, it's tough to give it too high a ranking just because it just never shows up. And I think there's purpose to that other than just the fact that people don't want to race it. I don't know that it would be really conducive in, say, a GT3 vehicle, but it's a cool track. But in context of what I'm going for here, it probably pretty low. So we'll stick it in D. All right, Long Beach. Long Beach I love. I'm a big fan of Long Beach, and pretty much in any car I've ever driven there is awesome. All the Skippy Formula 4, Formula 3, love it. GT vehicles, love it. Big fan. The only question is, how high does it go? Do I love it more than Spa or Interlagos? Honestly, I don't think I do. I think it's probably pretty similar. We'll put it in A. I mean, it's either going to be S or A. We'll put it in A for now. And then in Monza, I love Monza. Historically, I love Monza. When you think about the cars that I've driven there, especially the Formula type stuff, it seems to promote, you know, draft fests and things like that. And thinking about the entry to turn 1, there's a lot of places where a lot of bad things happen just because, you know, the nature of the track. Do like it. I don't know where it lives on this for me. Really hard. I don't think it's A, certainly not S. I think we'll leave it in B for now. All right. I don't even know how to pronounce this bad boy. I have driven here probably a total of 10 laps helping some guys prep for an upcoming race. Can't say I loved it. It was a little frustrating of an experience. Yeah, I think, I don't know, 15 laps is probably enough, quite honestly, to get a decent handle on whether you enjoy something or you don't. So we're going to roll with that and stick it in D. Phillip Island, man. So this is an interesting one, I guess. I've had some really good races at Phillip Island, specifically in the Skippy. I'm actually really curious how it would be in GT3. Probably pretty awesome, actually. It's a cool track. I feel like it's kind of like criminally underused. There's only really one kind of screwy corner towards the end of the track. And honestly, even that, with the downhill nature of that corner, it's pretty awesome. Really difficult to put it up, in my eyes, with a Monza or an Olton or Okayama, or feels like it probably lives in C, somewhere with Fuji or Laguna Seca. So put it in C. And Red Bull Ring, I think this is also probably a pretty contentious one. I think a lot of people really don't like this track. I really enjoy this track. I enjoy it in every car I've ever been here in. So for me, it's actually quite enjoyable. It's one that I look forward to. It's pretty simplistic, which maybe that's why. But, I think we're going to put this bad boy in A for me. Nürburgring Nordschleife. This one, spoiler alert, straight to the top. Far and away my favorite track to lap. I could literally do that all day. I ran the Nürburgring 24 for the first time this year. Loved it. So I didn't even know the track fully going into this year. So I learned it specifically over the course of a few months just to be able to race that race. And it did not disappoint whatsoever. Rudskogen? I don't even know, to be honest with you. We're going to go with Rudskogen. Yep. I actually do enjoy this place, even though I don't really know how to pronounce the track. I've run in the Skippy quite a bit. It's actually a pretty cool little circuit. I don't know that it's really conducive to, say, the bigger cars. Something like F4, F3, pretty solid here as well. Where it lives on this list is difficult. My eyes jump to C. Feels a little aggressive, if we're being honest. Maybe we'll put it in D, but I don't think it'll be pretty high. Sebring, one of the goats. I did not like Sebring that much prior to, I don't know, maybe in the last 6 or 7 months when I started really focusing on the GT3 cars. Driving Sebring in a car like an F3 car is painful. No suspension. I mean, it's just, you feel like you're bouncing. It's brutal. Obviously the bounces exist in GT3 cars, but they handle it so much more, more effectively and just differently. My feeling for Sebring went from I hate this track to like I actually really enjoy this track. Silverstone, kind of a similar situation as far as where it's going to live. This is just a great circuit in any Formula vehicle. I do think it's pretty awesome in the GTs as well. Don't know if it's A for me though, to be honest with you. Looking at some of those tracks, if I saw those in the calendar, I'd be a lot more excited than if I saw Silverstone. I think we'll put it at the top of B. Snetterton, I've only ever driven this in Skip, maybe Formula 4. I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people do. It's definitely not a popular track by any stretch of the imagination. It's definitely C or D for me. Tough to put it in C when I'm looking at the Fujis and Laguna Seca, Hockenheims of the world. So yeah, I think it does fit in D. Suzuka, love Suzuka. It's a great track in every car I've ever driven. Flows so nicely. I mean, there's just such something to that track. I absolutely love it. I don't know if it's S. I don't know if it's quite there. It's really high in A if it's not S. So we'll stick it up here for now. Barcelona. Sneaky good track in my opinion. I do enjoy this place. I think we would live for me in B. Zandvoort. I've always really enjoyed this in all the cars I've driven it. Not quite as good in GT3 as it is in, say, an F3 or F4 car, or even Skippy, but it's definitely a solid track. I do get quite excited when I see what that one on the calendar, so I think we'll stick that in B as well. Daytona, for me, it's very easy. S tier, I love that place. It's simple, right? There's only a couple corners, especially only a couple that really matter. There's something about it. I love it. I've been there for the Daytona 24 in real life. I just something about Daytona. When that's on the schedule, I'm definitely excited for it. Donington Park, not sure where to put that. I actually some of the layouts there can get me more excited or less excited based on which layout it is. It's not D for sure, so I think we'll leave it somewhere here in C. Mid-Ohio, this is actually a track that, again, is also kind of criminally underused in iRacing. Not to say that it's A or even B tier for me, but it's a better track than I think a lot of people realize, and it's been good in everything I've ever driven in it. We'll let this bad boy live in C. Bathurst, Mount Panorama, we're gonna go with Bathurst. For me, this is an easy S tier. I absolutely love the mountain, love the special event. I think there is a little something here. These all have big time special events that I've enjoyed over the years. The mountain is amazing. It's a great challenge. It's a great challenge for 12 hours. It's been good in everything I've ever driven in it, and I just love that circuit. So easy S tier. Road America, this one probably gonna surprise you guys. Everybody loves Road America. I'm just not one of those people. It's grown on me a little bit recently, and I think that's because of GT3. With a lot of the formula stuff, I don't know why. I don't even know why it's different, but in my mind, I just don't enjoy it as much. In the formula stuff, I've definitely grown to enjoy it a little bit more in GT3, but it's not that great to me. I think my eyes go to B, so we'll stick it in B for now. Road Atlanta, kind of on the other side. I love Road Atlanta. The elevation changes, cane at the end is awesome. Even the short circuit and something like a Skippy is amazing. Road Atlanta for me is definitely at least A tier. Man, I'm wanting to put it in S. It's really high A. How about that? Snow was a tough one. Definitely interesting, definitely unique. I really do appreciate the historical NASCAR touch that it's got going for it. Always some wild finishes when they go through the hairpin. For me, with my history in iRacing, the cars that I've driven it on, probably the best ones I've ever driven it on were in the Skippy. I'd have to put it in C. Certainly a good track, certainly underutilized. I think most people do associate it with NASCAR only. Probably should get more use, or just, get more eyeballs on it. VIR, man, VIR, definitely a special one for me. I'm close to it. It's my home track, if you will. Great circuit. Love all the different layouts. I think for me, it would land in B somewhere. Watkins, man, I love Watkins Glen. I think pretty much anything I've ever driven in, I love it. Lots of good overtaking opportunities, fast, has some pretty difficult corners. There's just a lot there. I think there's a lot of nuance to Watkins Glen. A lot of people don't even notice. The bus stop is, the bus stop. You have to take some serious chances to be fast there. It's a little easier in the GT3s to be quick and get to that bus stop. I'd say it's A tier pretty easily. Candidate for S, but yeah, probably an A. So this is our list in all of its glory. Now, unfortunately, we don't have some of the newer tracks. If Portimao was on here, it would be easy A, if not even S tier. I love that circuit. So we are missing some of the new circuits, unfortunately, but I think we're in a pretty good spot with this. I feel pretty good about it. S, I feel very good about. I love these circuits. Probably, honestly, put Bathurst in front of Daytona. Nordschleife, no doubt, is number one in my eyes. Man, I don't know who makes it up there. Spa, it's just, there's something about that place. I love it. Road Atlanta's similar. I think Spa makes it into S for me. Road Atlanta is like right there. You know what? Yeah, why fight it? I love Road Atlanta. I think it's an absolutely phenomenal track in so many different ways. Looking at the rest of A, I think this looks pretty solid. Love Suzuka at the top of A, makes a lot of sense to me. Montreal maybe a little lower than some of these guys. Yeah, I think that's probably true. Sebring, I'm trying to fit this in these days. That's a tough one. Watkins is definitely higher than this. Yeah, I think it definitely, man, it's funny. It's thinking about Interlagos. I do love it, but I get more excited about these guys these days. I think with Interlagos, we'll drop it back a touch. And I think Long Beach fits here. Red Bull Ring, Montreal, Imola. Honestly, Imola, probably more here. Montreal, okay. I think that feels quite good. And it's funny, now kind of looking at A and the way that I've ordered them, Silverstone definitely doesn't fit in A, and I think that I'm glad that I left it where it is. So looking at B, ooh, tough. Road America, it's really grown on me recently. I think it's definitely higher than where it's living today. Not sure how high it goes, but for now let's live it here. VIR, kind of the same boat. It's definitely more in this space. Zandvoort, kind of the same there. Olten, actually kind of like Olten more than Brands. Silverstone, it's funny, man. I don't know. Okayama fits a little bit better there. Silverstone, funny how feeling differently about it now that I'm seeing these groups of tracks. Silverstone, it's like picking your favorite kid, but like at the B tier. Man, I don't think it's better than Zandvoort or Olten even. Maybe, yeah, maybe. It feels a little bit more natural there. Monza, goodness, this is difficult. Difficult. Actually kind of feeling Belle Isle a little bit more. Motorsport, I wish I had more time at Motorsport to have a more refined opinion about it. Do any of these tracks just not fit? I kind of feel like Aragon belongs in C, to be honest. Looking at it like that. All right, Road America, VIR, Okayama, Zandvoort, Silverstone, Olten, Brands, Le Mans. Oh, that's a weird spot for it for me. Not sure where to put Le Mans. I think it's B tier for me. But it just doesn't feel like it fits in these tracks, does it? Motorsport, Monza, GP, Belle Isle, and Catalunya. Well, let's leave that for now. Let's visit C and see how we feel about it. All right, so looking at these guys, if I had to pick my favorite at this point of all of these tracks, man, it might be Aragon. Fuji, Laguna Seca, Coda. This is going to fall a little bit, I think. For now, Hockenheim, Hungaroring, Lime Rock. Definitely a little more interested in some of these. Aragon, Fuji, Laguna, Coda, Hockenheim, Hungaroring, Lime Rock, Sonoma, Phillip Island, Donington, Mid-Ohio, Summit Point, and Chicago. I feel like Chicago does not fit in that group very well. We'll drop him to D. Man, it's tough to even put these in an order. I'm not a huge fan of any of them. You're living on dreams. There's some history with you. That's why you're there. Actually, I feel like this is definitely probably the best of the D tier. Scuba, Chicago, Knock Hill, Snetterton, probably better. Charlotte, yeah, probably better. Yeah, this actually feels pretty solid. So Rudd's, we'll go with that. Scuba, Chicago, Knock Hill. These two could probably pretty easily flip, but I'm going to leave it. I think for the cars I drive, I would actually enjoy Chicago a little bit more. Charlotte, Snetterton, Indy. Man, I actually enjoy this better than Indy. I can't believe Indy's literally the bottom. Let's go back one more time through this. So Nordschleife, Bathurst, Daytona, Spa, Road Atlanta. Does that order feel good? That order feels pretty good. Atlanta, Atlanta's tough. All right, so Suzuka, Watkins, Sebring, Long Beach, Interlagos, Imola, Red Bull Ring, and Montreal. Montreal doesn't feel like it fits in here. I do enjoy that circuit quite a bit. It's just when I look at the cluster of those tracks, I don't know if Montreal fits. I really do like it though. Do I like it more than Road America? Yes. I think we'll leave it where it is. But I mean, we're splitting hairs here. Road America, VIR, Okayama, Zandvoort, Silverstone, Olton and Brands, Le Mans. Still don't know what to do with Le Mans. Most Sport, Monza. Probably like, yeah, definitely Belle Isle over the GP circuit, Catalunya. God, yeah, that's a tough one. I actually feel like that track's sneaky good. Kind of surprised I have it as low as I do in B, and especially without that final chicane, I enjoy it so much more. Aragon, actually, man, and I'm kind of, this is a little, recency bias. Just did Fuji, really did like it. I'm just gonna remember, we're forgetting the fact that that chicane thing exists and that layout is basically gone. Aragon, I do like Aragon. I think more people need to try that, especially in race situations. Laguna, Coda, Hockenheim, Hungaro, Lime Rock. Man, how do you even compare these two tracks? Like, they're on different planets. One's a purpose-built Formula 1 track. The other's been around forever and is raced on generally slower vehicles. Like, so difficult to compare those two. We'll leave that. Sonoma. Man, I feel like Sonoma's better than both. I'd be more interested to race Sonoma than Coda, no doubt about it. Honestly, Phillip Island as well. I don't know if Donington belongs in this group. Mid-Ohio, Criminal, that needs to be used so much more often. You're getting demoted, buddy. All right, so Summit, Donington, Rudds, Scuba, Chicago, Knockhill, Charlotte, Snetterton. Don't even know. And Indianapolis. Oh, that's tough. I think that's my list. I think I'm sticking to it. I feel pretty good about this list. I can't wait to hear in the comments. Somebody's going to have something to say about this, I'm guessing. And I can't wait to hear it. So drop in the comments. I'm sure my Discord community is going to do this too. I can't wait to see y'all's screenshots. I'm going to post this video and I'm going to share my own. And I can't wait to see what you guys have to say about it. I hope you enjoyed this. Typically I do racing videos and iRacing. If that's of any interest to you, subscribe to the channel and check out the race videos that I put together. I do a lot of live streaming with the leagues that I run, and I will post recordings of official races that I do during the week. So if any of that's of interest, subscribe to the channel. I can't wait to hear your comments. Thanks for watching this video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next.